Yeah, I know. We're kind of lucky here, and we're in the banana belt, kind of in St. Catharines. Yeah, I know. No, I know. Yes, Fort Erie, Ridgeway, Port Colborne. Yeah, we had a lot of snow. Oh, I gotta go. I got a show to do. Yeah. All right, mate. Thanks. Okay. Hey, welcome to season 5, episode 2 of Niagara 411 Live with Sterry. We are fueled by Gales Gas Bars. We are supported by Verge Insurance and Ace Alignment and a brand new sponsor, Equal Wellness. We're going to be talking to you about that as the show goes on. Very, very happy to have Equal Wellness on board here today. And on board is the good ship Fiddler's Poorhouse, 149 Paul Street. St. Paul Street, St. Catharines, and there's our sponsors and our specials for today. Poutine, and we got wings, and we got $11 PBR pitchers and doubles, enough for $9. Crap, all kinds of stuff here if you want to come into Fiddler's Poorhouse. We are also powered by Canada's premier streaming company, WeeStreem, and we'll talk to you more about that as well. It's been a busy season for WeeStream. And wow, we have cold here, but nothing like those of you that have been spending time in the southern tier of Niagara. Man, our heart goes out to everybody that's been putting up with the snow over the last little while. So coming up today, as I mentioned, we have a brand new sponsor. We're going to be talking about Equal Wellness. One of the big things that happened over the last week is that crazy accident that happened on the Queen Elizabeth Highway that kept lanes closed for seemed like days. So we're going to be talking about that and some other things. We're going to be talking weather. We have the big dude, the head dude at the Weather Network, Doug Gillham, coming on. He's the manager of the Forecast Center, and we're going to be talking about the winter so far and the winter to come for Niagara, what we can expect, because we got some weather today. Anyway, back in about 30 seconds. Hang in there. We are back live for, I know, season 5, episode 2. It always seems so embryonic when you start over episode 2. Oh, here we go again. We got to episode 27. Now it's episode 2. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Jack on the right-hand side of your screen on the ye old programming today. He is executive producer of this here program, as well as co-founder of WeeStreem, Canada's premier streaming service. Kevin Jack, welcome back again.
Yeah, very happy to be here.
Another show in a new year, and again we have yet this week kind of a new look, if anybody's been paying attention.
Yeah, look at that. We got that little scroll bar down at the bottom.
See this?
All new things happening on the screen. Always trying to freshen things up, Lee. Like we say in the biz, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse.
Mm-hmm. If you're not moving forward, you are moving backward. And I just lost a button. That's embarrassing. Okay. I blew out a button. Okay. Kevin, in these days of media and constant changing platforms and the ways to communicate, etc., we do try to, to your credit, move forward and see how we can make what we do for Niagara better. And so here we are with a bit of a new look again in 2024, and we're always seeking your input. And as you watch that scroll along the bottom of your screen, as it goes throughout the program, it will tell you that you can feel free to join this program at any time. All you have to do is click on the link that is on the stream that you're watching, and on Niagara 411 Live with Sterry. Again, want to thank Nick at Niagara 411 for hanging in for yet another year with all of you contributors to Niagara 411. It's really turned into a very, very inclusive community. People will share their experiences with fellow Niagarans. And Kevin, I think that's part of the, if not maybe the charm of Niagara 411 is because it does feel kind of like a community.
Yeah, very much so. Like a sounding board.
Yeah.
When a couple of weeks ago when there was that big blast in Welland and nobody knew what it was, where did we all go, right? I mean, like 3,000 comments on there as the community came together to say, hey, did you hear this? Did you hear that? What was it? I saw something in the sky. Did you hear that? Where do you live? Were you in the park?
It's true. And you know what? It's kind of funny is the fact that we can go throughout our daily lives and you watch your television news networks or listen to your radio programs or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden, as you said, something happens, some particular thing happens, and as a whole, the community will go to a particular source because they know, well, if we're going to find out something about this thing that is on our mind, it's going to be there.
Yeah.
And Niagara 411 has turned into that place. And that's why we're so pleased to be a part of that family. And as we were talking about off the top of the program, one of those stories that really continued to have, the cool kids in the news biz call it a story that has legs, meaning it's a story that doesn't just come and go, it just comes and stays for a while. And we are and have been sharing this story far and wide because there was a suspect vehicle that caused just an amazing amount of carnage to people in Niagara here over the past week. It's 8 o'clock, I think it was, Friday morning this happened. That Mercedes that you see there, that black sort of two-door jelly bean-shaped Mercedes, was the vehicle that caused this whole thing. Now it was, I think they said that they were driving, whoever was driving the vehicle was driving it erratically. In other words, you know how these people like to cut in and out and pretend they're AJ Foyt or Ferrari or whatever. And it caused another vehicle to interact with a tractor trailer truck, a tanker truck that rolled over and caused a spill that has taken ages to clean up. And the highway was closed from Friday morning for a long period of time. Kerry Schmidt of the OPP, whom you're familiar with, is sort of their media liaison. He's their spokesperson. And he had this to say about that incident when it happened. Well, as you'll see here, it was like 2 o'clock Friday afternoon when he finally came out and gave us an update. Yeah, we're muted there, Kev.
That rolled over just after. Hey everybody, we are here still on the QW just past Beamsville, Ontario Street, Beamsville, dealing with this rolled over fuel tanker truck that rolled over just before 8 o'clock this morning, involving two other vehicles, one involved in the crash here and another vehicle that was indirectly involved that fled the scene, that failed to remain, described as a black Mercedes two-door vehicle. If you are that driver, you have information to assist, that is the source of all our problems here right now. Just before about 10 to 8 Ontario, on the QW, just passing Ontario Street, Beamsville. A black Mercedes driving aggressively through lanes, all lanes of traffic. We are currently reviewing some dash cam and appealing for further witnesses to help us identify the driver of that vehicle. The vehicle cut off the white car, which then ended up colliding with the fuel tanker truck, sending them both across the ditch, through the fence, over South Service Road, rolling over completely, rupturing their tanks, spilling a good percentage of their fuel down into the ditch, which is, again, we are just less than a kilometer from Lake Ontario, and they are dealing with some visual fuel that has gone through the catch basins that go underneath the QW. Working right now. We are working right now on clearing some of the debris from the scene.
That's something that we didn't, I didn't think about at the time, but Carrie reminded me, being that close to Lake Ontario, those conduits and catch basins, etc., you don't think about that, the potential impact if that stuff leaks into the lake. And again, I didn't think about that at the time, but man. And then, so this was Friday afternoon. Those lanes were closed for the cleanup later, and then they said they announced that it was going to be closed Saturday morning for a couple of hours from something like 8:30 to 10:30 or something of that nature. And then they announced that they still hadn't been able to make significant progress and kept the lanes closed even longer. The negative impact on Niagarans and all commuters and transients going back and forth, it's just all because of one person, and that's all it takes. And it's not really necessarily speed. You can say what you want about speed, but if everybody's traveling at the same speed or traveling 100 kilometers an hour, 120, it doesn't really matter. It's the fact of it's the irresponsible driving of that vehicle that and we've seen them all. We've always said that we've all done this. We've seen somebody doing this thing in traffic and said, why aren't those the guys that get caught? You know, I'll get caught in a speed trap going 25 kilometers or whatever it is over the speed limit, but these guys that think they're on a racetrack or something somewhere, they don't get caught. So we're really hoping that this person is found. But he's got to be the busiest guy in the OPP, don't you think, Kerry Schmidt? He's been doing this for like a couple of decades. I remember, like ages ago. I'd be on the radio, and there's Kerry Schmidt. I'd be talking to Kerry Schmidt about an accident, and he's everywhere.
So, Lee, I drove by this Saturday afternoon. So, if you remember, the accident closed the QEW both directions for a good part of Friday.
Yes.
And then the announced closure on Saturday morning to continue with the cleanup.
Yeah.
I passed by Saturday afternoon, and the highway was open, obviously, but the South Service Road was closed.
Yeah.
And then on my way back on Sunday, I was in Toronto for the Leafs game Saturday night, and Sunday morning came back, and they were still working on the service road. And I hadn't seen the catch basins since the Sonics explosion in North St. Catharines.
Right.
And I remember going up and checking that out. And that's what they do, right? They have to take all of the contaminants and dispose of them, separate them from the soil. So they had diggers there, and I saw a guy climbing on top of the tanker. But
yeah,
I mean, this is a 2 or 3
it's
day
not just
cleanup.
it's not just like scrubbing the highway. It's an environmental spill, really, is what it is. And anyone, again, with information, we would love to get this person that can identify the driver of that vehicle involved in that tanker rollover. Please, if you recognize that vehicle or think you do, and better yet, you know what? If you're a stand-up person of any sort at all, if it's you, come forward. But
how is this driver not being caught?
My faith in fellow man isn't that good. I don't think anybody that is in that situation is going to come forward and say, I did it. It was me. My bad. No, that's not going to happen.
That's a distinct vehicle.
Oh, it is.
That's a distinct vehicle.
Now, there are a few of them out there, but and what I'm trying to figure out is why we couldn't identify the license plate any clearer than that. I mean, you know that law enforcement has been trying to figure out what's on that plate, but obviously to no avail. Crazy.
Now, Lee.
Yes, Kevin.
We're going to get to Alexa Vasko here in a second, and we didn't even really tee up the program. So I want to get to who we got coming up on the show, and then we can get to our sponsors.
Yes.
Before we get Alexa of St. Catharines and also the Toronto PWHL here on the show.
A very good idea, Kevin.
Thank you, Lee.
In the interest of being a true executive producer of a program, always coming up with a good plan. Yes, our show today is going to flesh out this way. In just a few minutes, we are going to be talking with Alexa Vasko. And she is one of many female trailblazers this year in the Professional Women's Hockey League. She is a St. Catharines native. She is a forward with the Toronto franchise of the Professional Women's Hockey League. She wears number 10 when she competes. She went to Governor Simcoe High School here in St. Catharines. They have a game tonight against Boston. Both of those teams are 1-4 going into tonight's game in Toronto, that they play at the Mattamy Arena, the Mattamy Center in Toronto. This is truly a breakout year and a landmark year for women in hockey, as this Professional Women's Hockey League is getting an awful lot of play. It's getting a lot of conversation. Anytime I get together with friends or whatever, especially if they're hockey fans, they're getting jazzed by this. It's and long time overdue that professional women hockey players get this kind of recognition and get their own league to compete in, and it's become a big deal this year. So we're really looking forward to talking with Alexa in about 5 minutes or so, maybe less. Also coming up in the program, as I mentioned off the top, Doug Gillham is going to be here. He is the manager of Forecast Center at the Weather Network. He's the guy that develops the official winter forecast, the official seasonal outlooks. He's the one that will send you alerts about things like polar vortexes and those kinds of things. Well, Doug's going to be joining us to talk about the winter so far and the rest of the winter to come in Niagara. And as we've been hearing about over the last few days, it is certainly a weather period. Well, it's always a weather period, but in this case, it's kind of an extreme one, is the fact that places that don't normally get snow, like Vancouver, etc., are expecting a lot of it. We in Niagara, with the exception, God bless you, people that live in the southern tier of Niagara, Fort Erie, and along the lake, Port Colborne, your Crystal Beach Ridgeway, down in along there, that have been impacted by the lake effect snowfall off Lake Erie. We realize that, as I mentioned off the top, we here in St. Catharines, we kind of live in the banana belt when it comes to the winter storms that flow through Niagara. But we do have cold here. It's colder than average. But to all those people that are spending a lot of time shoveling and or snow blowing, our thoughts are with you, believe me. And of course, that's a stadium in Orchard Park. Ah, man. And before they were finally able to play the Bills game this past Monday. You know what? You have some tailgaters that just will not curb their enthusiasm, as they say. Gales Gas Bars, thank you very much for fueling this program, locally owned and operated for 3 generations. Gales, for all of your petroleum needs. And this is a very, very big time of the year for Gales, because it's not just pulling up to the gas pumps. They do have 11 service stations, full and self-serve. They have 4 convenience stores, wholesale fuel delivery, which is a big deal this time of year for sure, home heating fuel delivery, and oil lubricant delivery as well. One-stop shop here in Niagara. Again, a Niagara company for Niagarans. And when these cold weather periods hit, those people that depend on fuel oil to get by, they depend on Gales, and Gales delivers. Also, to Verge Insurance Group Brokers Limited, we thank you for your continued sponsorship and for whatever insurance needs you have, be it auto, home, business, life insurance. Verge Insurance Brokers Limited here, another born and bred Niagara company, ready, willing, and able to serve you on that. Ace Alignment is with us now for another season. They came on partway through season 4, for which we thank them for sure, and they're continuing with us through season 5, which is just awesome. Specializing in wheel alignments, brakes, suspension. You can get your MTO motor vehicle inspection done there. Head mechanic Darren Miller, senior mechanic Matt Crompton, top-notch guys in their field. They know what they're talking about all the time when it comes to your vehicle. On North Street in St. Catharines, right behind the brand new cop shop at the corner of Geneva and Welland. They're just tucked in behind there if you want to go say hi to those folks. And our brand new sponsor, Equal Wellness Services, champions of healthcare for all. And I want to spend a little bit of time on this. I'd like to thank Audrey, the owner, operator, proprietor of Equal Wellness Services, for joining the program. This is her first week of sponsorship of Niagara 411 Live with Sterry. They're pleased to offer both diabetic and non-diabetic nursing foot care services. That's how she started her business, as a foot care nurse. As a matter of fact, I'm going there again for an appointment tomorrow. my feet feel so good. But also some new services as well. They got a cool thing that they're doing now. They have this thing called a cystoscope, and it's a skin assessment tool. And they have a high definition camera that will take like 5 subdermal photos of any skin issue that you have, like whether there's moles or something like that that you might be concerned about. People sometimes wait ages and ages and ages to get an appointment with a dermatologist who will help you look after this stuff. Well, the only waiting you'll do is like 3 days for the results of something like that, and it's something brand new for them here in Niagara, and the cystoscope is just way cool. Now, Equal Wellness Services is located at their new location, actually, at 365 Vine Street in St. Catharines. If you're trying to nail it down, it is on Vine Street between Scott and Carleton. And it's in a little strip plaza that's there. And they're so new in that location that they don't have their signage up yet, but it's what used to be the laundromat. So if you go to 365 Vine Street in that little strip mall between Scott and Carleton Street, and where the laundromat, you go into where the laundromat used to be, they have a sign on the window, but don't bring your dirty clothes. Don't do that, all right? So we welcome Equal Wellness Services. We'll have Andre on to talk more about that too as time goes forward. And but also, still, certainly the place for you to go for all of your great foot care requirements. And man, I'm not kidding when I say my feet feel fabulous. All right. So we'll talk more about that as the weeks go by, and welcome to the program. So the women's professional, the Professional Women's Hockey League, is something that burst onto the scene, and I guess you could call it almost an overnight success that was years in the planning. No, there's no such thing as overnight successes, really. Most overnight successes take a while to put together, and as this one did. But Kevin, as a hockey guy, you got to be kind of impressed with what the Professional Women's Hockey League has accomplished. They're getting some pretty good press out of this.
They're grabbing my eyeballs. I'll tell you, I found myself the other night flipping back and forth between an NHL and a PWHL game, and I ended up on the PWHL game.
The quality of the play is spectacular. Talented women in this league. And of course, Toronto is one of, this is almost like going back to the original 6 of the NHL, because there are 6 teams in the Professional Women's Hockey League.
Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto,
yeah,
and then 3 American teams, Minnesota, Boston, and New York.
How cool is that?
Yeah, very cool.
I mean, you can wrap your head around the season. And we are honored to have a St. Catharines native joining us who is playing with the Toronto Professional Women's Hockey League team. And her name is Alexa Vasko. Alexa, hi. Are we coming through loud and clear there?
Yes, you are. Hi, Lee. Thanks for having me.
Hi. Oh, well, thanks for being here and taking the time out to join us. It truly is an honor. First of all, congratulations on taking part in this milestone year for women's hockey. This is truly a spectacular year. It's very cool.
Yeah, thank you. Honestly, it's been incredible. Starting January 1st, honestly, it's been a whirlwind. Like you mentioned before, it's not an overnight success. There have been people working years and years on this, and we're just fortunate enough to be the group that gets to play on the ice.
So can you walk us through your development, because it's a route that for women we're not used to following, because it's just not, it's always been boys to boys to boys to bigger leagues and all the rest of it. Can you walk us through your hockey experience from the time you were a girl that started playing the game? Like, what got you from there to here?
Yeah, so I started when I was about 5 or 6. I actually started in the Kiwanis League. They played out of Bill Burgoyne there. So I played 2 years house league there, mostly with boys. I think I was one of 2 girls on the team, and I remember my dad was approached by another one of the dads on the team, and he said, "Hey, my daughter actually plays rep hockey." It was called the St. Catharines Chaos back then. They're now called the Junior Brock Badgers. And he said, "Hey, why doesn't she try out for rep?" So the next year I did, and I played Adam Double B. So I played Adam up until Bantam for the St. Catharines Chaos. And then once I reached mid-age, I started playing for Stony Creek there, so out of Fruitland, off of Fruitland Road there, so it wasn't too far. And then from there, I was fortunate enough to be I got a lot of exposure, so I was fortunate enough to be a part of Team Ontario, and then eventually the U18 Team Canada, who went to the Czech Republic there. And then actually I was playing soccer at the same time too, so I sort of had to make a decision which sport I wanted to pursue. So I thought I had more opportunity playing hockey. So I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship at Mercer University, which is a Division I college in Erie, Pennsylvania. Played there for 5 years because of COVID. And then really I knew deep down I wanted to play pro, and last year I was part of the PWHPA, which was sort of a showcase event, but we knew behind the scenes there was this going on, so I knew this was always a dream.
Right. Okay, so then when did you get drafted? Like how did your participation then go to the professional league? Like what was that leap?
Yeah, so September 18th, just this past September, there was actually a draft in Toronto at the CBC Center there. And I mean, I was fortunate enough to be drafted by Toronto. I mean, at that point, I didn't really care where I went among 6 teams. But honestly, I'm super, super proud to be a part of Toronto, and I'm super close to home. I mean, my family can come up when they want, come to visit, come to games. So yeah, I'm super fortunate.
It's fascinating. I think most of us realized that this day would come. Realizing after, especially watching various tournaments around the world, including the Olympics, etc., because women's hockey has been just mesmerizing at the quality of play and how exciting it's been globally over the last number of years. And we knew this day would eventually come, but for you have a professional women's hockey league now. When you look at it, it's kind of like, wow, we're finally here, and we're not quite sure what to do with it. But man, you guys are getting a big following. It's I hear talk about you everywhere I go.
Yeah, it's honestly crazy. I know just the other day, Minnesota had a world record breaking. I think they had over 13,000 at the XL Center that the Minnesota Wild play out of. And then our New Year's game on January 1st had over, I think it was 2.6 million viewers across all television platforms. So, I mean, yeah, that's great. But I honestly just think we're only scratching the surface. Like, this is our first year. This is our first year, and we're breaking down those barriers. So I think the next 3, 5, 10 years, honestly don't know what to expect.
How many games? How is the season structured? How many games do you play? How do the playoffs work? Is there a trophy that's been named? Like how does that season get structured?
Yeah, I don't know the name of the trophy just yet, but so this season we're playing 24 games. So I believe 12 home, 12 away. I think somewhere in there's going to be sort of neutral site games in there. Maybe by an NHL team, we don't know just of yet. But since the season started in January, which is sort of a little bit later then a normal hockey season would start, just because of all the work that had to go on behind the scenes to put this on. The playoffs are going to go into May and possibly early June. And that'll just be what professional hockey is: best 3 out of 5. It's not a one game, it's not a one and done. It's going to be playoffs. And
right.
I mean, as you and the viewers can see, the play's physical, it's fast, and I mean, that's the regular season, so I can only imagine the playoffs. Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Do you find it's a whole different level now? Did anything surprise you or anything take you a little bit off guard going from your hockey experience up to the time when you started playing in this new league?
I wouldn't say, I mean, obviously on the ice, it's a bit faster and a lot more physical, but I would honestly say the difference between whether I was with my college team or with the national team, it's right now it's the travel for me, because I'm used to playing weekend games, maybe a Friday or Saturday, but now we're going weekday games with a weekend game, so we're doing a lot of traveling. Sometimes we don't have days off, sometimes we do, but that just comes with the territory as well. So I think most of the change has been off the ice, and we have to, this is our job, we have to act like pros, so we need to figure out what's best for us on our days off, whether that's extra recovery, getting treatment, seeking what we need. So I think off the ice is where I've really seen a huge difference.
Kevin wants to weigh in here. Kev?
Hey, Alexa, it's just Kevin behind the scenes here, and you talked about that and about sustainability of the league. I am so behind this with every ounce of my being. I'm watching the games. I'm supporting the athletes. How many women in your change room right now are able to do this full time? You talked about off days. Are you having to carry a second job right now, or is there enough revenue there in the PWHL to make Alexa Vasko a full-time professional hockey player?
Nope. This is our job.
That's so awesome.
This is what the women before us have fought for. And like I mentioned before, we're just fortunate enough to be able to play for them. But yeah, this is our job, and to be honest, we wouldn't have time for a second job right now.
Yeah.
No, I know that, but unfortunately, that was the financial reality for the last decade or 2 decades.
And
so happy.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I was going to go as well. There's obviously, and always has been, and for a while, I'm sure there still will be a disparity between what professional men make playing this game and what professional women make playing this game. And but you're able to make ends meet, I guess, is what we're asking, and we hope that's true.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's going to be that disparity between the men's and the women. And again, this is our first year, but which I mentioned the exposure that we're getting, and this is only year 1. So I truly believe that disparity is gonna shrink pretty rapidly.
Yeah, and Lee, I mean, I'll just throw in here, it is bugged me for so many years that somebody of Marie-Philip Boulin's status, who scored another game-winning goal last night, you mean to tell me she can't make $1 million playing hockey a year? She should be a household name right alongside Sidney Crosby and Nathan
absolutely.
McKinnon. I mean, I love Marie-Philip Poulin, what she's done for the country, and to think that there was nowhere for her to be a professional hockey player just incensed me. So I'm so happy for the PWHL. Love watching you, Alexa, and
that's awesome.
Wishing you guys the best tonight. What do you see tonight? You've got, who's in town? Boston tonight? Have you played Boston yet?
We played them during training camp, during a sort of exhibition series we had in Unica, but again, that was training camp, so it's anyone's game tonight.
All right. What does it feel like to be named after a smart speaker? Alexa.
To be fair, I've had this conversation with people before. The Amazon Alexa was named after me because I was born in 1999, so I was.
You had the name first.
Yeah, I'm the first Alexa for sure.
Yeah. So if somebody says, "Hey Alexa," you don't necessarily answer.
No, I'm sick of those jokes. No. I get them all the time.
Oh, I'm really happy I brought it up then. So listen, you're a forward. You wear number 10, right? You're number 10. We can watch you. That's you.
That correct. That is
Okay.
me.
What's game time tonight?
7 p.m. I had to think about that for a second.
7 p.m. Yeah. And where do we, Kevin? Where do we find the Professional Women's Hockey League games?
It's going to be on one of the national networks.
On
and
one of them.
apologies, I don't want to say the wrong one because it's just always there. And these Wednesday games have become a bit of a staple in my house. Like, I'm looking forward to them. And this is not lip service, Alexa. Like, I'm watching the games.
No.
Last week, I was flipping between, I think, the Ottawa-Calgary game and I think your game. Were you in Minnesota last week?
We were, yes.
Yeah, and I was flipping back and forth, and I found myself starting with the NHL game, and then I was watching the PWHL game and flipping back to the NHL game. It was a lot more entertaining, right? The physicality and the speed and chances one end to the next. I mean, it's just a great, entertaining product, and I'm so happy. And Alexa, I mean, think about the inspiration for you. I mean, I know girls right now that are in that same Brock Badgers program that you came up through. I know different name back in the day. And for these girls, is that what you're seeing in the stands? Are you seeing young female hockey players that want to come out and aspire to be the next Alexa Vasko?
Yeah, like there are young girls, young boys, families in the stands, and I never had that as a kid. I remember going to my first NHL game when I was young. It was Buffalo Sabres versus Minnesota. I'll never forget that, and it was cool and all, but I wanted to be them. I never had a female hockey team to look up to, and you mentioned having it on the TV, and I mean that doesn't really go unnoticed. I remember going home or being at home on Saturday night and I knew I was watching the Leafs game, and I just think it's super special now to have little girls, little boys go home and have the opportunity to choose between an NHL game and a PWHL game on TV. We've never had that, and honestly, even a few years back, if we wanted to watch a girls' even college game on TV, we had to look for honestly an illegal stream. So having that exposure on the network, to have that opportunity for girls to be, hey, I'm just going to throw it on, that's incredible.
Let me before we say goodbye, I don't want to leave this stone unturned. What kind of role do you feel that your mom and dad had in this? Because this is whether you realize it or not, this is pretty special where you are right now as one of the trailblazers of this league and of the growth of women in sport. How did your family influence this? It must have been pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cliche, but if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I am today. I mean, when I was growing up, I played every sport literally possible. Started with dance, gymnastics, soccer, hockey, and yes, that's time driving to and from stuff, but that's also a financial responsibility as well. And it's not just me. I have a younger sister who is also heavily involved in sports as well. So between shuttling both of us to sports and having that financial aspect, and then just emotionally, mentally being there, and like I wouldn't be where I am today without them. And honestly, when it came full circle, there's been a couple moments in my career when it came full circle, but I would have to say at the draft this past September and the first game January 1st, there were definitely a couple of tears shed around the room, sort of, from everyone to sort of like, okay, we made it. And I think that's sort of when it clicked, like I did not do this alone. It really took an army. So yeah.
Alexa Vasko, St. Catharines native, team member of the Toronto Professional Women's Hockey League team. Thank you for being here. Congratulations on reaching this milestone, and hopefully it doesn't weigh too heavy on your shoulders as a responsibility. I still hope you can have fun and really enjoy it, and just have a blast. And thank you for being here with us today. Great job.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Boston tonight, 7 o'clock. All right.
TSN.
Kevin, I wish you... TSN?
Yeah, it's going to be on TSN tonight.
I wish you'd get a little bit more enthusiastic when you're talking about hockey.
You know, I was right there with Alexa, and I was wondering the emotions on draft day.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's something that I never even imagined. And I sat there and I watched live from CBC headquarters, and I watched the girls walk across the stage, and I said, wow. And there were tears shed, and I felt the emotion. It was coming through the screen. I'm like, wow, this is so cool. This is actually happening.
Want to thank again our sponsors for being part of this program. Gales Gas Bars, our premier sponsor, fueling this program as they have Niagara for the last 50 plus years. Also want to thank Verge Insurance Group for being here with us as well. Ace Alignment for all your automotive needs, and our brand new sponsor, Equal Wellness Services, here at 365 Vine Street in St. Catharines in the plaza between Scott and Carlton Street. And non-diabetic as well as diabetic nursing foot care is how this whole company got started, but it has now expanded to a great degree. We used to just refer to Audrey, the foot care nurse, and she still is that, but expanding now with new Cioscope, high-definition camera technology for skin issues and dermatology issues, etc. And there you go. And there's a phone number right there for 938-3668. Stop in at 365 Vine Street if you wish. They don't have any signage of yet right now. They're still in where the laundromat was. They're so new in that location. But by all means, please stop by there and say hello and make an appointment and have a chat with them. And thank Equal Wellness for being part of our program here on this their first week as a sponsor of the program. Thanks.
Now, Lee, we might need a little bit of their help as far as wellness services. We kind of forgot about this at the top of the show, but I think I can make it happen.
What's that, Kevin?
It's dessert day here at Fiddler's Poorhouse.
It's dessert day?
It's dessert day at Fiddler's Poorhouse.
Oh.
I came in over, between our last show with the
Where's
family.
my dessert?
And we had the most delicious dessert right here at Fiddler's Poorhouse. So I'm going to talk to Mel and see if we can get it brought out before the end of the program. It is a hot cookie, a hot chocolate chip cookie with ice cream and some butterscotch drizzle. But they bake the cookie fresh and they bring it out on a hot pan. It's by far the best dessert I've ever had in St. Catharines, in Niagara, and it's right here at Fiddler's Poorhouse. You would never guess it.
It's a hot cookie.
If you're downtown, if you're looking... Lee, it was so good. Like, you know the dessert where they bring out 4 spoons because it was me, Leanne, and Alan and Alex. The 4 of us were there.
Right.
And my wife and I go, we'll let the kids have the dessert. Well, pretty much we were, stabbing the back of their hands with our spoons.
Right.
Get away from this thing. Okay. So, man, was it good. So we'll do that before the end of the program.
All right.
And our musical guest today.
Our musical guest is going to be the Bay Beach Club coming on the program today, and they're going to be performing "Place of Our Own." We always have a Niagara-connected musical guest to, as we say, play us off the stage, and that's going to be happening about 1:30, or a little bit before 1:30 today. Our end time for the program is 1:30, 1:25-ish or so. So if you know those guys, ladies, by all means, join us for that. The Bay Beach Club and A Place of Our Own coming up to play us off the stage. Also want to acknowledge Beau Chapeau Hat Shop for being a part of our program. And boy, you could use something with ear flaps over the last couple, and they have those too. If you need something to cover your ears, they have that too. Queen Street, right downtown Niagara-on-the-Lake. By the way, speaking of Niagara-on-the-Lake, that's where the video was shot that we're going to be seeing later today. The Place of Our Own, the video shot entirely in Niagara-on-the-Lake. So that's kind of cool. Coming up in a few minutes, Doug Gillham is going to be joining us. He is the Weather Network's manager of Forecast Center. In other words, he's the dude. He's the forecast dude with the Weather Network. You don't get any higher in weather in Canada than that. is the manager of Forecast Center at the Weather Network. Okay. Kevin, what have you been up to with, before we move on quickly, what have you been up to with WeeStreem? Give us a chapter and verse on Canada's premier streaming service.
Well, looking forwardly, this Sunday we're going to be at the Gale Centre in Niagara Falls as they induct new members in the Sports Wall of Fame. It's their induction ceremony, and I think for the third or fourth straight year, WeeStream has been brought on board by the City of Niagara Falls to make sure that we stream this, and not only do we stream it, but of course it gets archived as well, so you can go watch it at any time. And all the other municipalities around Niagara that do these sort of inductions, give WeeStream a call. It's a crime that you don't record these events and you don't make them available to family and friends that are literally scattered across the world. When you start talking about these athletes that have reached these levels, they've literally trailblazed across the globe. So they've got friends and families all over the place that want to see them enshrined back in their hometown of Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, Welland, wherever it happens to be. So,
and that is so often the case, is the fact that things that are happening in your own backyard are people that are accomplishing things, and they're from your own backyard, and they go elsewhere to accomplish things. We often get, I don't know whether jaded or apathetic or sometimes, but we have Niagarans performing amazing things in their lives, and it's great that they're going to be acknowledged at that event. So that's cool that WeeStream is going to be doing that. That's awesome.
Now, Lee, we got Mr. Gillham coming up in a couple of minutes for our winter forecast. Do you want to do the dog park? This one was kind of
and I want to do this for a particular reason. Now, here's the story. Fireman's Park, and as I understand it, please correct me if I'm wrong. As I understand it, Fireman's Park, which is of course just off Dorchester Road there, at Mountain in Dorchester, in Niagara Falls, is not officially designated an off-leash park, as I understand it. If I'm wrong about that, let me know. Anyway, on Friday the 12th, last Friday, as this person writes, I was at Fireman's Park in Niagara Falls with my dog. There was a man there with his beige chow chow named Ava. Now, chows are cute dogs, but they can be aggressive. This Ava was playing aggressively with another dog. He said to me, I need to watch my dog. Okay, well, that's a bit of a flag right there, which makes me think this is not the first time something like this has happened. They began to fight, and my dog came to see what was happening, and the chow chow turned to attack my dog. I had to pull my dog away, but not before the chow bit me. The owner grabbed his dog and ran. I was left there bleeding and trying to get my dog back to the car, and he didn't even ask if I was okay. I'm hoping to warn others who frequent the park, and if anyone does know this person, he was older, probably his early 60s, and drove a black pickup truck. I'm also hoping to find out if the dog has had any rabies vaccines so that I don't have to get multiple shots over the next 14 days. These are things that are totally irresponsible that people do with their dogs. Even if you think your dog is friendly, and even if you know your dog is friendly, letting them off leash around other dogs is not wise. We reached out to Dave McMahon, who is a Niagara-renowned dog trainer, and we just weren't able to get in touch with him in short notice to have him on the show, but I've talked to Dave before, and here's something that people that own dogs, I'm a dog lover, I've had dogs, and don't have one right now, unfortunately. We lost her a year ago, but that being said, off-leash parks are potentially dangerous for the future of your dog. Communities applaud themselves quite often by having places where people can take their animals and they can play off leash. I know Dave McMahon, I sort of put words in your mouth, Dave, but we've talked about this before. He is not in favor of off-leash parks. Here's what can happen. Let's say that you have a dog like this person did that is perfectly fine, perfectly well adjusted, calm, easy to get along with, just likes to play, nice dog. If it is attacked, if that dog, if your dog, if that's you, and your dog is attacked by a dog that is mean-spirited and creates trauma for your animal, it can completely change the personality of your dog for the rest of its life. This is not something it's not like a one-off. It's not like one incident. It's not like two guys walking down the street and all of a sudden one hauls off and punches the other guy in the face and all right, the next guy, you don't know what's going to happen, but the first guy doesn't necessarily turn into a monster because he got hit in the head. That's a human being's way of thinking. That is not how animals think. That's not how dogs react. That dog could potentially remember that attack and forever have its personality changed.
And Lee, to that, I'm not a dog owner, but it's a little disheartening. The municipalities go through great lengths to create these great dog parks, but
I know,
over
but
time...
But it's not a good idea.
Well, look at what some of the comments are saying, the exact same thing you're saying. I mean, here Terry's saying seek medical attention, but,
yeah.
I mean, Sue, I no longer
take my dog to the park. When I did, I would keep an air horn in my pocket in case of aggressive dogs. Too much kennel cough going around. Well, that's a sickness. That's neither here nor there as far as aggressiveness is concerned. But it's still a thing. I feel so terrible for you that this has happened. It must have been terrifying. I'm sorry you had to experience Fireman's Park like that as well. I hope this person is held accountable for their complete lack of regard for human and fellow canine life and safety. So brutal.
Look at the one above.
I hope you're okay. You've been looked at by a doctor. This is an unfortunate example why I refuse ever to take my dogs to dog parks. So Kevin, there must be some thing at Fireman's Park. There must be some area that because it just seems too common an experience for these people for there not to be some area at Fireman's Park that is termed off leash. There has to be some area there. Maybe there's just one area that's a dog park. But yes, it's really something to think about.
I mean, there's other comments in here, Lee, that seem to suggest that it becomes a haven for drug use and homelessness, and therefore you don't know what you're going to find or step on in those areas. And it's really unfortunate because dog parks have only been around, 15, 20 years?
Oh, I grew up going to Fireman's Park decades ago, and I just can't fathom the fact that there are those kinds of issues at hand. But be careful with your dogs and think twice before thinking that an off-leash park is a good idea. Well, we've had some winter pass us by up to this point in time, so I thought it was probably a good idea to reach out to the experts and find out where we've been, where we are, where we're going in Niagara with this winter of 2023-2024. And to help us maneuver that trip is Doug Gillham. He is manager of Forecast Center at the Weather Network. Doug, we've chatted in the past before, but first time face-to-face. Glad to have you on the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on today.
Well, our pleasure, for sure. Now, you're the guy that crafts these prognostications seasonally, weekly, daily, whatever, but I think the official winter forecast was, what was it, December 17th or November 17th, somewhere in there that you sort of stamped your name on the winter forecast. When was that?
I was in November.
Right.
And that was the forecast for December, January, and February, and we highlighted that it would be a mild start to winter and a strong finish to winter. We put January kind of as that wild card month, and interesting, that is kind of how it's playing out. We had a very mild start to the month. Fake winter is over. Now it actually feels like winter. And yet we're going to go into a milder pattern next week as we wrap up the month of January. So January is really being two-faced, whereas December was mild. It was exceptionally mild, not only in Niagara, really, but across the country.
Yeah, so let's talk about Niagara first. As you said, we have been really, really spoiled. If you're someone that likes warmer, non-snowy winters, that's pretty much what we've had up until about the last week when the temperatures have really dipped, and now we've got clearer, colder weather, but still not a whole lot of snow. And that's pretty much what you expected for Niagara to this point.
Yeah, that's right. Very lack of snow, although we have an intense snow squall that's across parts of Niagara right now. That's
Yes.
typical of lake effect, a wide range of conditions across the region. You can have sunshine and blizzard conditions in just a couple of kilometers. The expectation for the winter was that the dominant storm track would be mostly south of the region.
I know.
But we do expect a strong finish to the season.
Okay.
And forecasting exact storm tracks weeks and months in advance, actually not possible. We have to fine tune those forecasts as we get closer. But we certainly have some winter weather now, and I think we're going to have a stronger finish to the season despite the milder weather that's coming next week.
With all due respect to our southern tier residents here in Niagara, we do have 2 or 3 different Niagara regions when it comes to weather. Being in this little microclimate tucked in places like St. Catharines and Grimsby and in underneath that southern shore of Lake Ontario, we often escape unscathed from some of the real severe storms and systems that go through, whereas our brethren in the south, like along the Fort Erie Lakeshore and Port Colborne and Crystal Beach and Ridgeway and those places, get hammered with like Lake Erie style lake effect weather. So we've got this kind of unmanageable group of Niagara regions all rolled into one. It's not an easy thing to forecast, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, I grew up in Vineland,
okay.
So very familiar with that. And that's the challenge when someone says, how much snow are we going to get this winter? It's like, well, where are you? Like, it really matters whether you are tucked in between the escarpment and Lake Ontario, whether you're up on the escarpment. And then, like you said, it's like if anyone's headed to Niagara Falls today, it's a totally different world. And it can be that way at various times during the winter, where you can go from sunshine to a blizzard. We had that Christmas Eve storm last year, where, again, Northern Niagara pretty much unscathed, Southern Niagara, a blizzard.
So generally speaking, going forward, you said a strong finish, and for some people that would mean different things. Strong, in your words, means more of a wintry finish than we had at the beginning, and that's pretty much region wide. Are we going to have, from what you can tell, a lot more snow between now and between now and spring? Do you think?
Confidence is always going to be higher in the temperature pattern. So again, we've got the winter weather this week, a milder pattern as we wrap up January. Overall, we think February, the first half of March, it won't be cold all the time, but cold weather will dominate. Near to below normal temperatures will dominate. Now, that's the one ingredient you need. One of the ingredients you need to get snow. When it's mild,
right,
you're not going to see snow. Now, so obviously the potential for snow is higher now in the second half of winter with the colder pattern. Certainly for lake effect snow, with the colder weather, you can get the lake effect snow. Now, in terms of storms, when cold takes over the pattern, it becomes harder. Like the storm track also tends to shift south as well. It's more likely that the U.S. East Coast is getting a lot of snow. But I can't imagine we're going to go through February and the first half of March being colder than normal without getting a couple of good snowfalls. So it doesn't look like we go into a hyperactive pattern, but with the cold, we will see some snow. And if you like to ski, if you're a skier, those snow belt areas, the lakes are wide open.
Right.
So the ski areas will get snow. So if you are a skier, a much better second half of the season.
So I'm assuming that we'll be able to get the Bills Chiefs game in this coming weekend. Do you think?
Yes, I'm trying. Is it Saturday or Sunday?
I think it's Sunday.
Okay, so
it's
Saturday is very cold.
All right.
Sunday is a milder day. Still, it's going to feel like winter. But yes,
yeah.
The lake effect settles down. No storms. They will be able to play this weekend. I will not predict the outcome, but I certainly am hoping.
Well, I don't think I would ever ask a weatherman to predict the outcome of a football game.
Good call.
I mean, the old joke is, being a weatherman is the only job that you can be wrong 80% of the time and still make a living. It's, that's the old joke. But you've been pretty dead on this year. You've been doing a good job.
Well, thank you. I certainly strive to break that 80% or 50%.
No.
Threshold.
That's just the old joke. So before I let you go, Doug, let's talk nationally. We have seen really some strange and different and unusual and unexpected weather patterns. Specifically, I'm talking about on the west coast of our country, and like Vancouver area is going through more of a winter style forecast, like with more snow, etc., than is historically the case. Let me ask you this big loaded question that I'm sure you get asked so often: is how do those two magic words, climate change, figure in to the lexicon in which you live? Is this what we're experiencing, or is it just weather? Because weather and climate are two separate things. Are we experiencing different in climate, or is it just weather?
It's both. And the question is how much of one versus the other. We are too quick when we experience what we think is unusual weather to just say it's climate change. We like to oversimplify things as if we never had crazy weather before.
Right.
We've always had crazy weather. I love the analogy that Chris Scott, my manager, uses at the Weather Network, where you've got this range of weather that can happen. When you have a warmer globe, you shift the goalpost. When we had a milder December, people say, oh, this is the new normal. Well, no, you can still we had a colder than normal December. Last year, December 2017 was very cold. They're getting severe cold in the west. What you do is you shift things so that a severely cold winter is a little bit less likely, but still can happen. And a milder winter is a little bit more likely. What I do push back against, though, is that every extreme storm is cited as proof of climate change. But a warmer globe, and most of the warming's at the pole, that reduces the temperature gradient between the equator and the pole, and that temperature gradient's what drives active weather. So a warmer climate doesn't necessarily mean that everything is going to be more extreme and everything's bigger and more severe. Mm-hmm. I think we're too quick to oversimplify things. It doesn't mean the climate isn't warming and the globe isn't warming and we shouldn't take action. But I think we are too quick to attribute everything to climate change.
Right.
Centuries ago, we still had crazy weather. That's not new. Our memories aren't necessarily great. We think we remember how things were decades ago, but we've always had crazy weather.
That's the thing too. I think that really, you nailed it with the fact that it's not really the weather that's the problem, it's our memories that are the problem. Because when you look at the stats, there's a range hither and yon, and I think that's a great explanation of it. Any patterns right now you're looking at that have your attention that are going on out there?
In terms of across the country?
Any storms or whatever across this great continent of ours that you're focused on right now, or having a look at?
Well, the south coast of BC, Vancouver and Victoria had their warmest December on record, and where everyone's talking about El Nino being the reason. And yet now Vancouver and Victoria are getting pummeled with winter weather, a major winter storm, really more typical of La Nina. We had the record-breaking cold minus 50s in Alberta. Thankfully, while we're colder than we've been, we're not getting that severely cold. But it's been milder Pacific air floods across the country again next week. So if you're not a fan of the cold, hang in there. But if you do like winter weather, I think you will like February.
Well, it's kind of like they say, weather's like a bus, just wait 20 minutes and there'll be another one coming by. Well,
Exactly right.
like I said, you've done good so far, Doug. You've pretty much nailed it so far in the winter forecast, and we appreciate you being here. And you guys have an interesting job. Kevin, did you have something you wanted to? No, you're done. Okay. Doug Gillham is manager of Forecast Center at the Weather Network. Nice to get reacquainted with you, Doug, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Likewise. Have a great day.
Take care, man. All right, there you go. So, weather is the weather is the weather. What's it like? Just have a look outside.
I remember when we had Scott Sutherland on there just maybe late November, and he was looking ahead, and he told us exactly what Doug just told us. That listen, you're going to have some mild weather through December, which is exactly what we experienced, and then a topsy-turvy January followed by kind of a regular winter, and that's exactly what we've got.
And to be clear, Scott gets his information from Doug.
No, but I love his breakdown too of climate change and where we are. It's nice once in a while to talk to an expert, because like he says, everybody's so very quick to jump to conclusions as soon as there's something that's a bit of an outlier weather-wise.
Oh yeah, well we always say climate change, and then someone will obviously say, well, wait a minute, I remember it was like minus 23 degrees 40 years ago. We weren't talking about climate change then. So to go to Doug's point, you're always going to have wacky weather. Whether you put too much stock in it or not is entirely up to you and the scientists.
Now, Lee, we got something coming up here that is the perfect blend of warm and cold.
Oh, is it coming?
It is coming. It is
the hot cookie?
The hot cookie
with
the cold ice cream. We'll get to that. We got these two stories. I think we got to do this this cliffhanger story, the literal cliffhanger story in St. Catharines. And I mean,
it's a building hanger, isn't it?
It should be noted that somebody's seriously injured at the end of it and probably dealing with a stressful life and probably mental health issues. But I had no idea that this type of stuff was going on in our neighborhood.
So here is the story. SIU, which is the Special Investigations Unit of the Ontario Provincial Police, has concluded recently their investigation into a man's 4-story fall that happened in St. Catharines. So it was January the 10th of this year that the report was finally released. They found no criminal offense from a regional police officer in connection with the fractures and brain injuries suffered by a 33-year-old man in a fall from a 4-story building that happened last September, on September the 12th of 2023 in St. Catharines. So on the 12th, officers were called to this, you may remember this, called to an apartment for a disturbance involving a fellow. The man was angry and agitated, but he was also hanging from the edge of a roof, threatening to jump, or I guess in this case, let go. But the officers negotiated to try to get him to safety. The Mobile Crisis Rapid Response Team, of which I did not know we had one, but I'm assuming we do. The Mobile Crisis Rapid Response Team was called and obviously attempted to assist this man. He lost his grip from the building, which you might expect was inevitable, and then fell to the pavement below, suffering multiple fractures and a brain injury in the fall, poor man. Director Martino found the subject official comported himself with due care and regard for the man's health and safety. Regrettably, while the officer was not able to prevent the man from falling, it was not from any want of trying on his part. In other words, they've got this response team. A guy is threatening suicide, be him hanging from the building or standing on a ledge or whatever. Here's a human being that is threatening to harm himself by dropping from a building. So they call the experts in to attempt to negotiate a satisfactory ending to this story. And, well, that's not exactly how it happened because the man sustained serious injuries. So anytime that there is an incident or an event involving a police officer, it automatically is referred to the Special Investigations Unit. It's just an automatically, it's a knee-jerk reaction. It's part of the process. It's the law. And that's how it is. And they finally just now, 4 months after the fact, released a report saying the officer did nothing wrong. He did everything that he possibly could to have prevented injury. And Kevin, I can't imagine. I'm sure the officer was given some sort of an indication that, it was a righteous kind of thing. He did everything he could, etc. But it's not until the penny drops at the end of it that they're completely off the hook. That'd be a little bit stressful to live with as a law enforcement officer, to say, I got to wait 4 months until my name is cleared on this?
Even imagine getting the call in the first place. Okay, I'm responding. There's a male in distress. Okay, he's on the roof of the building?
Yeah. No, he's hanging.
And then to get there, I mean, it's straight out of a movie, right? I mean,
It
how
is.
often does this scene play out in a suspenseful movie or a thriller, right? All the time, dangling by your fingertips off the edge of the building. But outside of Hollywood, I honestly
and there are
didn't think
comedy
it
movie
happened.
treatments of stuff like that too. I mean,
I didn't think it happened. So right here at St. Catharines, a 4-story building, a guy's hanging off the edge.
Yeah.
That's boy, oh boy, and I say
Angry and agitated. All right. The agitated part I can understand, because if I was hanging from a 4-story building, I'd be pretty agitated for one reason or another. I don't know about the angry part. Who knows what? And obviously there was some mental health issues involved, as you mentioned before. But the things that our officers, our law enforcement people have to deal with on a daily basis, so we never have any concept of.
Well, here's another one, Lee, where I guess these are fire investigators, or at least charges were made in an attempted arson, and it's a bit of a bizarre story that goes back to last year as well.
Now this I'm sorry, in my little twisted world of humor, I have to giggle a little bit about this, because nobody was hurt. I wouldn't giggle about anything. November 23rd, and again, we're talking about something that goes way back, because we're just hearing an update about this now. So it's not just because it's old news for old news' sake. On the 23rd of November last year, 5 o'clock in the morning, officers respond to a residential break-in alarm notification at a home on the Niagara Parkway near Marshall Road. Officers arrive. They find a door has been smashed open, and some sort of an accelerant has been poured on the floor inside. Now, here's where it gets kind of... the suspect in question obviously was not successful in using the accelerant to start a fire and ran away. Detectives were assigned to the investigation, and photos of the suspect were obtained. The suspect is a male wearing a hoodie with a bandana covering his face. Damage to the home estimated at $5,000, probably just to refinish the floor. So Kevin...
So I don't even know where to begin with this.
I don't. It like falls into that category of, listen, you got one job. you got one job. You go in the house, you throw this gunk on the floor, and you burn it down. You got like one job. How do you, it can't have been much of an accelerant. Maybe it was a decelerant, if there is such a thing. Now, what we don't know in this story is what I would like to know. What is the relationship between the suspect, the fellow that couldn't start the fire, that broke into the house or was led into, whatever, the guy that got into the house and spread the accelerant and tried to start the fire and screwed it up and ran away? What is the relationship between this guy and the people that own the property? I don't know. We're not told what that relationship is, but it's still, in my mind, for whatever reason, even if he gave himself the job, even if it was his own idea, it's like, You've got one job. Oh my God. Thank you, Mel. I think. Look at. Oh, I almost tipped it. Oh, that's hot.
Oh,
She
yeah,
didn't
that's
warn me
hot.
that was hot.
I told you, they cook it right in the pan, fresh.
Holy cow, I got burns in my. Well, here, I'm going to try to get the.
Jeez, what am I pressing here?
How do I do this? There it is.
Yeah, here. No, I'm going to come over there, Lee.
You're going to come over here?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to come over there and give everybody a look at this thing.
Okay, well, we got 2 spoons.
All right, well, are you gonna dig in here? I'll just
Well, yeah.
give me a second here.
Oh, you got a spoon too here. This is called the hot cookie.
Yeah, it's a hot cookie. So here we go.
These are the perks of the job. Let me tell you. I feel like Graham Kerr and the Galloping Gourmeters going. Oh, that's good. Okay, so we got a cookie. It's like a peanut butter cookie.
And it's delicious. It's
The
still
cookie,
hot.
the cookie is like a peanut butter.
I had a chocolate chip.
Mmm.
And the
So
thing
then-
is that a lot of times I think if you go to restaurants, they'll pull something out of the freezer.
Yeah.
And that cookie is baked fresh, and like you said,
Right
that
here.
pan is still hot.
So then we got beautiful vanilla ice cream with what looks like a butterscotch sort of swirl. There. Oh my.
Starting to get in the shock. Yeah, I gotta have some.
You gotta have some.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's good.
Oh my God, it's delicious.
That's good.
Look at that.
But-
Look how good that looks.
But note to self: do not touch the iron pan.
Oh my God. Now, these are the thing. I think this is Niagara's best dessert. I have not had
But-
a better dessert.
You know what? This looks great on camera. You know what really bugs me though is when people post pictures of their food on Facebook. It usually doesn't look good, but this looks great.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Oh my
People
God.
didn't tune in just to watch us eat though. So
Oh, it's so good, Lee.
okay.
Well, you can't possibly go on, right? It's too good.
Well, go ahead.
What?
Oh, I burned my finger.
Don't touch the pan.
That-
Stop.
well,
'Cause
no.
That cookie is fresh.
That is absolutely proof positive that they cook it fresh. Because I could now go out and commit a crime because I just burned my fingerprints off. I have no fingerprints left. Oh, that's good. Okay. All right. That is awesome.
Oh, yeah, see a little behind the scenes. What takes place here?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, you got one job. And I'm sorry for the people that own the house, unless it was the people that own the house that tried to burn it down. I don't know. Who knows?
Now, Lee, did you get to the point where the guy's sitting there and patting his pant pockets for a lighter? Like, oh, crap. And he couldn't find something to start a fire with in the house?
But again, it says they put an accelerant. Well, what kind of an accelerant could it possibly have been? Because, I mean, even if it's just gasoline, I don't know. There are just too many stupid questions about somebody that just had no idea what they're doing. You got one job.
Go burn the house down. 5 a.m.
How hard can it be? Here's the can, here's the stuff, here's the match. Like,
That's the problem. No match. Okay, I got getaway car, check. Address, check. Battering ram to break down the door, check.
oh yeah, no fire.
Yeah, jerry can of gasoline, yeah, check.
Burnt
All
my
right, I'm
thumb.
good to go.
Burnt
Feel
my
like,
thumb.
feel like I'm forgetting something, Lee. Feel like I'm forgetting something.
What have I forgot? Oh yeah, the fire part. Damn.
And like I said, you mean to tell me you couldn't search the house and find a lighter? Like
I don't know.
Go
They're
to the
just
barbecue. There's one there. Go in the garage.
this was a faux pas on so many different levels.
If you want something done right, just do it yourself, right? That's
I
what
do-
they say.
I do want to take another moment out before I run out of time. to thank Equal Wellness Services for being a brand new sponsor on the program. And I want to just read through a little bit more in detail. First of all, this business started with our friend Audrey, who is a foot nurse. I mean, she is an expert in foot care. And she's expanded her business now to include so many great things. And of course, still is an incredible place to get your feet looked after, and including diabetic
and that, sir?
No, take it with you.
No, continue with Equal, yeah.
Diabetic and non-diabetic foot care. As a matter of fact, their email is info@clinicalfootservices.ca. That's the genesis of the business. But Equal Wellness Services has become the expanded version of this place, and they're located at 365 Vine Street in St. Catharines, which is on Vine Street in a strip mall between Scott and Carlton Street. Is that all right, Kevin? You enjoying that?
Oh, man, I'm going to be back over there in a second.
And they don't have any signage up yet, but it's in where the laundromat was in that spot. Now, what's kind of cool is this is something that is fairly new in Niagara. They have this new machine, and it's part of their offerings now, called a Ceoscope. Now, this Ceoscope is a skin assessment piece of machinery. It's a high-definition camera that takes, and I'm reading this so I don't get it wrong, it takes 5 subdermal photos of a skin issue, like a mole, for example. These photos are uploaded to a secure server where an Ontario dermatologist reads them and emails the results to you, the client, within 3 days. You don't have to wait for months. This is a private service, but a physician referral is required for this, much like a vitamin D blood test, etc., that kind of thing requires a referral. But the cost covered by the person. Quick, easy, and painless. Waiting to see a dermatologist now is a thing of the past. And that's all here in St. Catharines at 365 Vine. And there's a phone number right in front of you that you can see, 905-398-3668. And again, the email is info@clinicalfootservices.ca. But this expands this other issue expands it beyond foot care into another whole realm. But thank you for Audrey for joining our team of sponsors here on the program, which include, of course, Gales Gas Bars, our premier sponsor, fueling this program, as well as Verge Insurance Group and Ace Alignment. Thank you for being here, and it's and obviously thank you to Fiddler's Poorhouse, especially now. I'm having my dessert first, and then I'm going to have my lunch when I am finished here.
How are you not digging in? I mean, that's right under your nose.
Because my mom said, "Don't talk with your mouth full." So I had a nice little taste. I'll get to it in a minute. The Bay Beach Club is going to play us off the scene on the program today. They're going to do a video shot entirely in Niagara on the Lake called A Place of Our Own. And there's a place of our own here in downtown St. Catharines where we are. And folks in Fort Erie and other southern tier regions of Niagara are dealing, like Ridgeway, Crystal Beach, that are dealing with a whole lot more snow than that, and storms and wind and still lake effect from that pesky Lake Erie. Sometimes it can cause us all kinds of problems. And we're still speaking of causing us all kinds of problems, that rollover was sort of our headline story today. That truck that rolled over because of a mental midget in a Mercedes driving like he's on a racetrack somewhere instead of a highway with other people. Cut off one vehicle. That vehicle banged into or cut off, interacted with this tractor-trailer tanker truck. It went off the road, turned over, and spilled toxic liquid all over the place. And it was days of cleanup that ensued from that. And something we mentioned before, and Carrie Schmidt from the OPP, who was telling everybody what was going on, had mentioned the catchment basins between that South Service Road and Lake Ontario, which is not very far away. And it did not dawn on me at the time that we were not just talking about cleanup on a road, we were talking about an environmental impact on the soil, not to mention what could leach into Lake Ontario, which is not far away from where that took place. Just the amount of potential damage that was done in that situation because of somebody not driving like they're on a highway. They're just completely driving irresponsibly. And that's really not just speed. Speed is an issue in inclement weather, but it's not just speed. It's just driving like an idiot. And that's another thing, though, that Kevin always amazes me. How long do you have to live in Canada, in Niagara, in anywhere that has winter, before you realize that you have to change how you drive a little bit when it's snowy and blowy and windy? And go to Niagara 411. Nick, thanks for your service, by the way. These are busy times for you, I know, because of all this weather stuff. All the accidents, littered. People just littered with accidents. You know, okay, but shouldn't you know how to drive in the snow by now? Shouldn't you know? By now? Maybe? All right. Listen, we have... we're going to go now? All right. I want to thank Alexa Vasko, professional women's hockey player in the PWHL with Toronto, St. Catharines native. Fabulous to have you here. Congratulations on this watershed season for professional women's sports. I mean, it's just phenomenal. So thank you, Alexa, for being here. Doug Gillham from the Weather Network, manager of the Forecast Center. Thanks for being here to talk weather. And Kevin, as always, thank you for sharing my dessert with me. Great. You had a pretty good hockey night. You scored a hat trick last night.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Lee. Including the game-winning goal with about a minute left. And we celebrated with some nice frothy beverages right here at Fiddler's Poorhouse. And I think I'm going to go do the same after. Who do we got to play us off today?
The Bay Beach Club is going to entertain us with a video shot at Niagara-on-the-Lake called A Place of Our Own. So you have fun. I'm going to eat my hot cookie. All right. See ya.
There's no cash and no lines. One where the ocean mimics my devotion. I wish we had a place to spend our time. Things would be easy.
Right or not? Not entirely.
I pulled the plug, the TV turned off.
What plug did you pull? The TV plug?
No,
No, TV's on.
no, it just turned back on.
Oh,
I
okay.
pulled this plug and that turned off.
Yeah, but you didn't do it. It was coincidental.
Oh, okay.
It was just the timing was
I was
coincidental.
like, whoa.
Oh, that reminds me of a story. I'll keep it short because it could be a long story. But we had the family on the west coast of California. We were doing a trip from LA up to San Francisco,
Okay.
and we stopped off at San Simeon, where the Hearst Castle is.
I heard of it, yeah.
Okay. Well, it's right on the coast, and there's this one hotel type thing that we rent. There's only one in the entire area. So we go in there. My son hits the remote for the TV. All the lights go out. So we're saying, Stephen, what? He's like, I don't know, 8 years old. He said, what did you do? Dad, I just turned the TV up. So we're blaming him for this power failure. I go down to the front office of the hotel motel, and everybody's lined up, like all kinds of people.
Yeah.
They're all over the place. The entire western United States power grid went down. Had nothing to do with him hitting the button for the remote. It just happened at the same time. So to this day, we accuse him of destroying the
Power grid.
western U.S. power grid. We drove and we checked out because we couldn't do it.